Okay, so the entire tech industry is debating the massive costs of generative AI, but apparently at Airbnb's recent keynote, the single biggest applause line from the crowd was actually for luggage storage.
It really shows you what matters. People just want their real-world travel friction solved, not a smarter chatbot.
Exactly. Welcome to Earnings Unscripted, the podcast where we see what's actually driving the narrative. It's August 6th, 2026, and we're breaking down Airbnb's second quarter results, ticker ABNB. And Miro, top-line momentum looks incredibly healthy. Revenue is up 17% year over year, which came in comfortably above the street, and EPS landed at $1.37.
Right, and the market clearly liked that volume growth. The stock had this choppy consolidation phase all spring, but the second this print dropped after hours, it gapped up hard. It faded a bit during the management call, but still held a roughly 7% gain. Though, as always, reading the tape is just our personal opinion. Never financial advice for anyone's portfolio.
Yeah, they obviously bought the summer demand story. But looking at that bottom line, I have to ask about the profit quality because it felt a little artificially boosted.
Good catch. The headline profit looks fantastic, but there's a big asterisk cutting in there. They recognized a $77 million one-time tax benefit just from some newly published tax guidance related to prior years.
Oh, wow. So that EPS beat wasn't just pure operational leverage.
No, that's a massive tailwind that won't cleanly recur. But to be fair to them, they did find genuine operational savings in the tech stack. You mentioned AI earlier. They basically used their new AI assistant to handle Tier 1 guest disputes and managed to drop customer support cost per booking by 16% year over year.
Wow. Okay, wait. So that's a real metric. Usually companies just toss the word AI into the slide deck for vibes, but they're pointing to an actual double-digit cost reduction per transaction.
Yep. It's actually one of the few clean examples out there right now of generative AI translating into immediate margin padding instead of just ballooning the capital expenditure budget.
That's completely wild to see the math finally prove out. But okay, there's a totally different mechanic buried in the filings about how guests are actually paying for these trips today. I really need you to explain why this massive surge in reserve now, pay later is suddenly delaying their entire cash flow cycle.
Yeah, so this is one of those subtle changes in consumer behavior that completely rewires a company's balance sheet.
How so?
Well, they rolled out this flexible payment feature and it just took off. On the call, the CFO explicitly pointed out, quote, over 20% of our total GBV was booked using this flexible payment option.
Okay, wait, just so I have this straight, are they taking on massive credit risk here? Like, if I book a villa in Italy for August but just never pay the second installment, is Airbnb eating that loss?
No, that's the genius of it. They aren't playing the bank. They just cancel the reservation if you don't make the final payment before the trip. So the risk isn't defaults. The risk is to their working capital cycle. Usually, their cash flow looks incredible early in the year because people book summer vacations in February.
Right, and Airbnb holds all that cash as unearned fees. They essentially get an interest-free loan from their own users.
Exactly. But now, with everyone choosing to pay later, that cash isn't showing up in the first quarter. It's getting pushed out closer to the actual stay. So bookings are still climbing, but their free cash flow actually dropped roughly 30% sequentially. If you just glance at the headline, it looks like a structural cash crunch, but it's really just a timing mirage.
Okay, that makes sense. Honestly, it's a massive flex to just swallow that kind of float delay to drive top-line growth. They must know it extends their lead times and pulls way more people into the funnel.
Right. It removes the friction of checkout. And that's critical right now because they're trying to capture way more of the trip than just the bed you sleep in. You mentioned that luggage storage cheer from the keynote earlier?
Yeah, the least sexy tech announcement of the year, getting a standing ovation.
Totally. But that push into adjacent services led them to a really strange data point. They started offering third-party car rentals recently, right? But their internal data showed guests were renting the cars for more days than they were actually staying in the Airbnb.
Wait, why? Are people sleeping in the rental cars?
Well, hopefully not. What it tells them is guests are taking multi-leg trips. Someone might spend a few days at a standard hotel in the city and then drive out for a week at a host's house, which is why their whole controversial hotel push isn't cannibalization. It's top-of-funnel acquisition.
Oh, that's so smart. Basically using traditional hotels as a Trojan horse to acquire cautious travelers, and then eventually funneling them into core home listings.
Exactly. Management flagged that 35% of first-time hotel bookers return to the platform later to book an actual home. So they're building out this asset-light super app, partnering for cars, pushing hotels, adding airport pickups without buying a single vehicle.
And because they're just partnering, they don't carry the capital expenditure of building fleets or physical infrastructure. Which, wait, if all of this AI efficiency and asset-light expansion is working so beautifully, why is their profit margin supposed to shrink next quarter?
It basically comes down to what management vaguely calls the timing of investments. They're taking all those immediate operational savings from the AI efficiency and plowing them directly back into marketing and new service features before the competitors can catch up.
Right. Timing of investments. That's the ultimate corporate get-out-of-jail-free card. How do we know they aren't just letting their ad spend spiral out of control? What are they actually projecting for the rest of the year?
Well, they seem confident enough to raise the full year outlook. They expect the annual margin to hit at least 35.5%, and for Q3 revenue, they're guiding to around $4.7 billion. Though, they did specifically warn about significantly tougher year-over-year comparisons for this back half.
Okay, so they're essentially saying the momentum's real, but don't expect it to look this effortless every quarter, especially with that flexible payment feature shifting their cash cycle behind the scenes. Plus, they've got massive unresolved tax notices with the IRS and ongoing consumer fines in Spain, so there's plenty of real regulatory drag out there too.
Yeah, it's a massive balancing act. They're completely rewiring their cash flow, fighting off global regulators, and trying to evolve from a lodging app into a full-scale travel agent. But if they can actually keep churning out software at AI speeds to manage it all, the fundamental math holds up.
Which is a wild sentence to say out loud. Building the ultimate travel monopoly on the back of flexible payments and luggage storage. It's an incredible story to watch play out. Thanks for diving into it with me today, Miro.
Always a pleasure. Catch you later.
If you enjoy unpacking these quarters with us, hitting follow on your podcast player means you won't miss the next drop. You should also know this entire show is an AI experiment, meaning both of us are totally synthetic voices turning today's live Airbnb call into an episode on the exact same day. Send your thoughts or ticker requests to earningsunscripted@datamadness.ca or find our X link in the show notes.
See you next time.